We are on.
We are back, the Well Life Podcast.
Yeah.
One of our new versions of how we want to shoot our in-between formal podcast episodes. So again, these in-betweens are really about actionable ways to improve your overall health and well-being. Went through kind of a 8-step process for individuals. Now we're going to pop in and be able to bring just actionable topics that you can take into everyday life in order to improve your overall well-being.
Yep, so we finished those 8 steps. We're on to something else right now, so we're going to kind of go through these individual topics today. For the first one of those is going to be muscle soreness. Very general, pretty straightforward podcast, talking about muscle soreness, right? What is muscle soreness? And why do you feel it?
Yeah,
muscle soreness.
Such a really good topic, though, because it's going to happen. It happens to everyone that's new or experienced from working out.
Yep.
A lot of times there's common misconceptions that maybe I got hurt, did I work too hard, or on the opposite side of that is I didn't work hard enough because I'm not sore enough. So we have to have conversations constantly about what is soreness, what did this mean for me, and what can I do to reduce it, or what is the appropriate amount of soreness I should even be feeling after a workout.
Yep. Right, so briefly, definition of soreness is micro tears in your muscle fiber, right? So your muscle is physically being stimulated to the point that it's slightly tearing, right, at the microscopic level. You're not actually tearing your muscle. A full muscle tear is when a muscle gets way overloaded all at once in one big pop, whether it's overloaded in a fully lengthened phase, right? Typically in a fully lengthened phase, you hear of a lot of hamstring tears and tweaks because it's a very long, thin muscle, and conditioning them can be tough. They take a lot of force on when you're doing certain physical activity, but right at a base level, muscle soreness is micro tears in the muscle belly, or the fascia of the muscle, right?
And it's like that can sound like something that's scary, but that's really that's the benefit of working out.
Yeah.
Is you're looking, you want these micro tears, because that's what's happening is the body is going to say, all right, I'm not going to allow these muscles to just pull or continue to tear. I need to adapt to this stimulus, and I have to get stronger. And the way it gets stronger and the way it doesn't tear like that anymore is it builds muscle, right? In order to decrease that stimulus. So
or accommodate more load and load tolerance.
To be able to.
Yep.
Exactly. So it's going to respond to that stimulus that you put on it. So those little tears, that soreness that you're feeling is, right, there's some positive there. So those tears that you're feeling is that your body is going to have to respond to it. But it's what do you do in order to make sure that it responds the right way? And that's kind of the second half of the conversation that we're going to have here. Right? Again, misconception is, and we see people kind of walk in our door a lot, is they come in, maybe you're a new person exercising, and we can try to break down an exercise and make them a little simpler. But if you haven't done it, your body's going to adapt very well to the things that you do. So if you come in and you do any new exercise, your body's going to be very sore after. And we've had people that have shied away from coming back because they've thought, oh, I couldn't get out of bed, I couldn't sit down, right? When in fact, that's just soreness, that is DOMS, right? That's just delayed onset muscle soreness. It's not an injury, and you need to move, right? And do some other things in order to not be as sore or to keep pushing.
Yep. And there's a way to efficiently go about either starting working out or going back to working out to progressively load the muscle. There are some bodybuilders out there that talk about total volume, total trainable volume, because your muscle is going to feel sore, but how much can you actually put on it so it adapts at a decent pace, right? And you're not overloading it because, you might feel delayed onset muscle soreness for 2 or 3 days, but might not necessarily want that. Right? So it's kind of finding a good middle ground where you're going to grow, you're going to get stronger, you're going to force that adaptation without overdoing it. All right, so first point we got.
Right before we go into that, but that's a good point of how these guys that are trying to build muscle for a living are also trying not to get so sore that you can't do anything. So it's like we have a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't feel sore, like maybe that wasn't a good workout, when in fact that's not the case. Right? Ideally, you're not getting super sore that you can't move after every workout, and that means you're either pushing too much or you're not recovering well enough. So leads us very well into kind of the second half of it as well.
All right, so off the top, we got a couple steps here that you can take, actionable items, and things that you can do to basically improve your ability to deal with muscle soreness given the day after, 2-3 days after. One thing I always tell clients, this is the number one rule, is to hydrate properly. right? Your muscle is way more fit and able to handle workload and recover better if it has water in the muscle belly able to work, if it's properly hydrated. If you've been following us on Instagram, on the 8 Well page, and some through the Well Life page, we talk a lot about hydration. Hydration is not driven by just water, right? Your body has to have a balance of electrolytes that is sodium, potassium, magnesium, right, and some other different minerals that you can intake on a daily basis in order to retain enough water in the muscle, in the cells of the muscle, so it can actually produce force, recover quality, right, or have quality recovery, and stay healthy and progress consistently, right? Sometimes a muscle can tear just because it's not as able to tolerate force and load, right? You might not feel soreness, right? NFL players tear a muscle during the season because it might be just hyper fatigued. They might not feel sore, right? But they might be dehydrated during games. There might be certain things like that. That's where muscle cramps come into play. You might feel like you tear it, but you don't. Those are extreme, right, things that can happen in the moment of working out. But at a baseline for recovery, hydrate properly to maintain water inside the muscle.
Yeah, it's about being able to properly transport nutrients into those muscles to help them recover post-workout. Point number 2, and this is one that we stress all the time in here, right? It's just sleep. Target 7 to 8 hours of sleep if you're someone that's going to be taking on a new exercise modality or just trying to upkeep regular exercise and you want to be able to recover well or get stronger. You have some goals that you want to reach, and that's going to be because the bulk of our recovery happens during sleep. And bulk of recovery and bulk of growth is going to happen in that deep sleep state. And if you're never getting to it, you're never going to allow your body the opportunity to be able to recover.
Yeah. Sure, you've heard that kind of saying that goes like your body does the most recovery during sleep or the most retention of information. That's almost true to your muscle, right? Your muscle bellies and your neural pathways, right? Not to get too much into it, but your nervous system should feel somewhat fresh. It might be broken down if you lift heavy where your muscles are sore, but you need that sleep. Hormonally, right, physically, mentally, everything. It enhances everything. It's your battery recharge, right? Can't use your phone if you haven't had it plugged in, or you get shorter uses out of it if it's not fully charged every day. That is number 1.
That's like this. I know we talk about sleep a lot. We had a whole kind of one of these podcasts just about sleep. So I think it's just that much more important to continue to reiterate it. So yeah, it's going to improve recovery, but again, to your point, it's going to help with everything else. That's it, right? Homeostasis of hormones, right? It's going to help you retention of long-term, short-term memory. Just going to feel better by sleeping better. And it's the one thing that we have not evolutionarily been able to get rid of, right? So no matter what studies go and time has passed, that's the one thing that if this was a thing that we did not have to do, evolution would have gotten rid of it. You're the most susceptible you could ever be while sleeping. Right? We've never been able to make ourselves be able to have less sleep. We've only kind of seen that we need more.
And risk of everything goes up when you don't sleep. When you're below that solid 7-ish hours, solid 6 maybe, optimally 8, like they say. But
how many hours are you getting to sleep a night?
More than you. More than you with the 2 babies. I try to get enough. I still try to get enough, but sometimes 7 doesn't feel like enough depending on the day. And sometimes 6 feels like enough some days, right? So it depends, yes, but you want to aim for great sleep and be accountable.
That's one thing. That's why I do like the Whoop, right? Even though I've worn it long enough to know what my good habits are and what my bad habits are that will affect me feeling good or recover the next day. But there are days, exactly like you said, where I could have 7.5 hours of sleep and think that I should be fine. My body's like, no, that was a bad 7 hours, right? You woke up, you rolled around, you went to the bathroom, you did all these things. As opposed to on the other side, I could have a really good 6 where I got very into deep and REM sleep, and your body's like, wow, you're great. That's all you needed. You got your deep sleep in. So it's a good way to track it.
So with sleep, you're always going to want to have adequate nutrition in the body, especially during sleep, not overeating before sleep, but having the right amounts of food in your body and to repair the tissues, right? So on to our next point is protein consumption. We emphasize protein all the time. Most people probably do not eat enough protein. Even if you're not like a vegetarian or a vegan, you still don't get enough protein in, right? One chicken breast at lunch and whatever is not enough for the day. We always emphasize over 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you're a 150-pound person, probably want to be in the 135 to 175-ish on a high-end range, depending on how much load you're putting on your body, depending on what your training looks like.
Yeah, your goals.
You know, your goals, yep. Right, and that's just going to allow for adequate protein to be absorbed. We said it, only about 20%, 10 to 20% gets really used for the muscle repair, for in the muscle belly at that level.
So many more functions
your
are
brain, your
utilizing
eyes, all your organs use it. Your muscle is your biggest organ, right? And it doesn't get that thing, or it doesn't get enough as much as we should kind of emphasize, right? That's why you got to eat more.
Yeah.
So.
One, right, essential, right? Think about essential amino acids, right? These are things that you can't create yourself. You have to get them through protein. Just need it. We always, like, I think we've said it 100 times, just trying to target that 1 gram and still trying to fight the misconception about protein will make you gain weight or, right? It's just like, that's not the case. Just total caloric intake will make you gain weight, right? It's about what can I put in my body that's going to help me recover, help me build lean muscle.
Totally.
Right into, so point 4 there, is going to be, so outside of what I'm putting in my body or how I'm resting is going to be actually just thinking about, I might be sore following a workout, but I'll probably want to get some movement in. So think about active recovery days and how to utilize them. A couple different examples of active recovery. One could be going on a walk with your dog, could be going on a hike, doing some gentle yoga like we have here at 8 Well. Could be just a stretch at home. But the point there is what you want to be doing is just getting blood flow into the muscles.
Yep.
So instead of kind of sitting and not utilizing those muscles or not moving them at all, allowing them to tighten up, get yourself moving, get blood flow to those areas. The more blood flow you have in those areas, the better they will recover, and the less sore and less inflammation you'll have in those areas.
Blood flow is the nutrient shuttle for everything. Right? If you can't uptake enough nutrition, if you're not digesting it efficiently, that's why it starts with digestion and it goes all the way through. Now you're in the blood. It's where amino acids are free flowing from the protein sources you eat, so you have to break it down efficiently. But it's the shuttle to your muscles to repair. So you have to have adequate nutrition, right? With your recovery in that sense, right?
Yeah.
So, right, onto our next thing, which is the 5th one, ice baths. So I want to kind of cover some specific points on ice baths because I think it's such a big current thing in the social media world, in the fitness world. Might not be as great as we think, right? But it's phenomenal for washing a ton of inflammation in a very acute way in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So a lot of athletes who are performing, right? You might feel like way less sore if you're in season because you have to perform. If you're performing and you're not trying to grow or improve, right? Improving your performance is done during the off season, right? When you are performing, ice baths are great. They're going to make you feel fresh. They're going to kill that hyperinflammation, basically. They are beneficial for killing the inflammation, right?
That's exactly that's the point there.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that soreness that you're feeling is going to, a lot of that can be inflammation. Ice baths are really going to help reduce that feeling of soreness. But to your point, I feel like you were leading into it. Is going to be it could inhibit the growth that you could be
exactly. That's where I was going next. So inhibiting growth is a big factor, right? You want that soreness. That soreness is going to, like we said, drive blood flow, right? Manipulating the tissue externally, driving blood flow. Nutrition is going to get there properly when you drive blood flow. That's it, right? When you get hit in the arm, right, and you have to compress and put ice on the arm, that whole rest, ice, compression, elevation, right? So that has almost been debunked just because it's that ice, right, is only good for like a 12 to 24 hour period in 15-minute bouts. And then you're almost hyper icing or hyper cooling the area. So you're not promoting blood flow now. So your body has a natural inflammation response to these things. With muscle soreness, it's very natural, right? It's so micro. That's what we said, micro tears. When you get hit with something, it's major, right? So you want ice in a short amount of time, right? But for performance reasons with muscle, you don't want ice.
Yeah, and to piggyback off what you're saying from a performance standpoint is that just that what that cold exposure is going to do it's going to, yes, dramatically reduce that inflammation response, but it's also going to, right, not allow the blood flow. And if you're not getting that blood flow, then your muscles can't then grow, right, and repair themselves, right? What it does is kind of constrict the inflammation response, but that's going to, you aren't going to have that same growth response, right? Your muscles aren't going to be able to then shuttle the right nutrients right to the area in order for the muscle to be able to repair that tear, be able to grow. So great for severe acute issues, great for right after that workout, but then you need to allow the muscle to have an opportunity to grow and repair itself in order to get stronger.
Yeah, and the body has a natural way of repairing. The body has a natural way to do almost everything, right? We've invented so many things. We've come up with things that assist in the body's maintenance of homeostasis, right? Keeping the body at a good mid-range so that it doesn't go too far in one direction, right? And maintaining a healthy mid-range for everything that we do. But sometimes assistance is needed for, like we said, performance, but at a base level. If you give the body nutrition, if you hydrate it, if you sleep, some physical manipulation, maybe some movement, doesn't have to be stretching, doesn't have to be lifting weights, some movement, blood flow, even though the muscles are sore. Maybe go through those exercises again you did the day before if you're really sore,
just
right?
Way lower in weight, just allowing yourself to get back into those ranges, allow your muscles to feel that same stimulation without the same volume or intensity would be a positive.
And that's why your body, right, coming back full circle, your body is going to do its job if you take care of it. That's why you could train 5 days a week and you might not be sore at all. Depends on what you're doing. But your body's adapting. Your body's going to adapt to the work that you give it. Just give it time, and you have to properly feed it with the right things.
And that's a big kind of overall theme, I hope, with this is that soreness could be good, could be bad, right? But it's about balancing it and ensuring that it's in line with your goals. Because if I'm too sore, I can't work out and push myself the next day or maybe the day after. If I'm looking to grow something, I won't be able to do it because I pushed myself too hard the 2 days before. So maybe I need to ramp down, listen to your body. Right? If I'm too sore, maybe I need to pull back a little bit. Or maybe I'm not doing one of these recovery enhancing modalities, and maybe I need to focus on one of those in order to be able to get back in and perform. Or if I'm looking right on the opposite end of that, maybe I'm not sore at all, so I'm covering all of these items, and maybe I need to think about what am I not pushing, right?
Pushing
in order to be able to not completely sore and inhibit myself from working out, but in order to stimulate a response, in order to have to recover from my workouts.
And right, sometimes we kind of even left this out, going for a walk is great. Letting your heart pump at a little bit of a higher level. There's an optimal kind of recovery range for cardiac output of, right, if you're a pretty middle-aged individual from 30 to let's say 60, that 125 to 155 beats per minute is going to be a pretty good recoverable range if you're really sore or your body feels destroyed. Just putting that out there as a cool rule of thumb if you want to go for a walk or a little speed walk or a very light jog or a workout, and
right,
you do have one of these wearables.
Recovery, kind of that active recovery option. Utilize those days. So that's, I mean, again, back to what we kind of always talk about, create a plan. Make sure that plan has active recoveries or some types. Make sure these modalities are built inside of your exercise plan in order for you to be able to stick to your plan and achieve your goals you want. So I want to get strong. I know I'm going to have days where I'm sore. How do I ensure that I can get back in the gym that next day or the 2 days after? I got to have all these things in place. Yeah. Cool.
There you have it. Muscle soreness. What is it? What do you need to do to improve your ability to deal with it and recover better?
Yeah, appreciate you guys for listening. Try out these modalities. Let us know what you are using. Let us know where you're not using. Let us know if you think you have a better muscle soreness modality. Let us know. Appreciate you tuning in.
Thanks, guys.